Hi, it's me again, and some news for you about the TV licence fee. I thought we could talk about that for a change today, because it looks like the TV licence as we know it is, drum roll please, staying exactly as it is, according to the Labour government. Let's have a look. Labour quietens BBC funding chatter for now as it commits to licence fee to 2027. Now that is the most worthless headline I've read for quite a while. Mostly because there is a charter in place for the TV licence fee up until 2027. So they have no choice but to commit to it until 2027. What utter nonsense is this? But there is an interesting point in here which is worth going over. Let's cut to that. Dear Leader, Sir Keir Starmer has committed to the existing BBC licence fee model for the next 3 years. Labour has committed to the licensing scheme as the BBC's funding model in its manifesto. Starmer said, "There's going to be some more thought between now and 2027, but we are committed to the BBC and committed to the licensing arrangements." New Culture Secretary, Lisa Nandy. Wonder how many Culture Secretaries we'll have under this government, because I lost count how many we had over the last government. Anyway, she'd previously spoken about the possibility of a mutualisation of the BBC to make the organisation more accountable to the viewers who fund it. Why are the viewers fund? Well, no, to be fair, viewers fund TV. ITV, the viewers fund it through watching adverts. Netflix, the viewers fund it through actually paying them directly through Choice. I don't understand why the viewers have to fund the BBC in this manner. So there's going to be some more thought between now and 2027. The problem is, it ain't far off 2025. So let's say it takes them all of 2025 to come up with an idea. That leaves the BBC, well, a year. I don't know. Well, let's say a year for the sake of argument. It takes them a year to do it. That leaves the BBC all of 2026 to work out how to implement any change that may come about. So let's say the Labour government, which they won't, obviously, say to the BBC, "You're on your own, lads, deal with it." And the BBC decide to go through adverts and subscription. They have all of 2026 to implement that. They will say that is not enough time in which to do it. That's what will happen. They say, we need 5 years minimum to get the infrastructure in place, to start selling ads, to build relationships, things like that. That's what they will say. So even if by the end of this year we come up with an idea about changing the funding model of the BBC, there will still be another licence fee charter in 2027. Would it be for 10 years? Will it be for 5 years? No idea. But it definitely will continue. And I'll tell you what, I'll take that. Of not getting rid of it, keeping it as it is probably the best way to go about it. If they turn it into some kind of media tax, bad. If they put it on your council tax, bad. There's talk about it going on your pay slip, bad, because then it's per person and not per household. There's a million different ways they could implement it and tax the people to fund that dirty, horrible, pointless organisation. So keeping it as it is, it's not the worst thing in the world, because you can, like me, I'm sure many of you out there do, opt out of paying it perfectly legally. What else does it say here? In 2022, the then Conservative government chose to freeze the BBC licence fee for 2 years, leading the public service broadcaster to reduce services like local news and the World Service. They would have done that anyway. They would have done that anyway. Things like that are so expensive. Why is the BBC spending £300 million a year? That's roughly what it costs to run the World Service, to spread government propaganda all around the world. Government do fund it a bit, but if they want their propaganda going all around the world, let them pay for it. Why are you, the British people, paying the licence fee to the BBC so the BBC can broadcast around the world to people who don't contribute towards the costs of it? Why is that okay? Then Culture Secretary Nadine Dorries, I quite liked, and I honestly thought Nadine was going to get the job done. I did. But I mean, it was just like a revolving door of culture secretaries way under the Conservative government. It was a joke. She also hinted in a series of tweets, because that's news now, that she would scrap the licence fee by 2027 without first consulting the House of Commons. Yeah, I think she could have done it, I suppose, but I mean, she only does what Boris told her to do, ever, because she's got a real thing for him, isn't she? And if he'd said keep it, she'd be like, all right, I'll keep it then. The media leader columnist Raymond Snoddy had previously predicted the BBC licence fee to be one of the bulkier items in Labour's in tray, specifically for Sir Chris Bryant, a former BBC European Affairs chief who is now a junior minister in the culture department. Wheels within wheels, isn't it? They're all mates. And don't forget, the chair of the BBC isn't like voted in or anything like that. It's appointed by the government. So you've got ministers who used to work at the BBC. You've got loads of people in government who have got friends and family and neighbours who are high ups in the BBC. They're all friends. Why would they stop the BBC's funding model? Was it 4 billion quid a year the BBC get from TV licence fees? Why would they want that stopped? The BBC is a friend to the government, and in return the government is a friend to the BBC. Labour is expected to be less hostile to the BBC than the Conservatives, but what will happen to the licence fee beyond 2027 when the current BBC charter ends? You're pissing in the wind. It's a guess, isn't it? It's a guess. I fail to understand why the BBC cannot just show ads. ITV's turnover, and ITV, remember, is a lot smaller than the whole conglomerate of the BBC. They don't have radio or anything like that. ITV's turnover hit 3.7 billion quid a year at one point. The boss of ITV earned millions a year, whereas Tim Davie only gets £500,000 a year. 3.7 billion when the BBC were bringing in 4 billion quid a year in licence fee revenue. It ain't that far off. In fact, fuck off the World Service and you're even. So it can be done. Why the BBC don't want to do it, I fail to understand why they can't just move with the times and fund themselves. Everybody would win. Everybody would win. The BBC would be incentivised to make better stuff, because the better the stuff you make, the more views you get, the more advertising revenue you make. So we win because we get to watch better stuff. We win because we don't have to pay the BBC directly a fee. And the BBC win because they can finally be independent. They can finally do what they want. They're not beholden to the British government. They can slim down and they can work more efficiently. I just said efficiently and the BBC in the same sentence, didn't I? An excerpt from the book, How Do We Pay for the BBC After 2027, Roger Perry agreed that an advertising model was not the answer to the BBC, as the pool of advertising is limited. They keep saying that. This is an argument they keep saying, and I do not buy it. I work in this industry a little bit on the side, and there is more money now piling into advertising than there ever has been in the history of the human race. There is more than enough to go around. And even if there wasn't, then you compete for it, and the strongest survive. Ah, no, because the BBC wouldn't survive, would they? Parry put forward the suggestion that after 2027, a new charter should be drawn up to make the BBC funded by a direct grant from central taxation. There you go. I'll leave that there, shall I? I'll be interested to see what does happen come 2027. I'm going to draw up some more leaflets. They cost me a fortune last time I did them. I'm going to try and do some more leaflets in some bigger towns this year. I might even splash out closer to the time on a billboard or something, a la what Defund the BBC did with your tens of thousands of pounds of donations. They had one billboard and one lorry, didn't they? And then the rest of the money disappeared into the ether. But I don't talk about that because they don't talk to me anymore. So yeah, I might do something like that. We need to ramp it up a bit. So let's see where this goes, eh? And if you are interested in where this goes, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because I do talk about it every now and then, the whole TV licence fee thing. And while you're down there hitting the subscribe button, if you haven't already, leave a comment, let me know what you think about all of this as well. Because if you subscribe, you hit the like button, you comment, whatever, That will mean that hopefully I'll get to see you in another video again soon, won't it? Ta-da.